Reading from the Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam, Canto 2, Chapter 9, answers by citing the Lord's version. Text 2. Bahu Rupa Ivabhati Mayaya Bahu Rupaya Rāma Mano Guneshu Asya Mamaham Iti Manyate Bahu Rupa Ivabhati Mayaya Bahu Rupaya Rāma Mano Guneshasya Mamaham iti manyate Bahu Rupa Ivabhati Mayaya Bahu Rupaya Rāma no Guneshasya Mamaham iti manyate Bahu Rupa Ivabhati Mayaya Bahu Rupaya Rāma no Guneshasya Mamaham iti manyate. Oh God. Oh. Bahu Rupa, multi-forms. Iva, as it were. Abhati, manifested. Mayaya, by the influence of the exterior energy. Bahurupaya, in multifarious forms. Ramamana, enjoying as it were. Guneshu, in the modes of different qualities. Asya, of the external energy. Mama, mine. Aham, I. Iti, thus. Manyate, thinks. The illusioned living entity appears in so many forms offered by the external energy of the Lord. While enjoying in the modes of material nature, the encaged living entity misconceives thinking in terms of I and mine. Purport by His Divine Grace, Srila Prabhupada. The different forms of the living entities are different dresses offered by the illusory external energy of the Lord, according to the modes of material nature the living being desires to enjoy. The external material energy is represented by her three modes, namely goodness, passion, and ignorance. So even in the material nature, there is a chance of an independent choice by the living entity, and according to his choice, the material energy offers him different varieties of material bodies. There are 900,000 varieties of material bodies in the water, 2 million vegetable bodies, 1,100,000 worms and reptiles, 1 million forms of birds, 3 million different bodies of beasts, and 400,000 human forms. Altogether, there are 8,400,000 varieties of bodies in different planets of the universe, and the living entity is traveling by so many transmigrations according to different modes of enjoying spirit within himself. Even in one particular body, the living entity changes from childhood to boyhood, from boyhood to youth, from youth to old age, and from old age to another body created by his own action. The living entity creates his own body by his personal desires, and the external energy of the Lord supplies him the exact form by which he can enjoy his desires to the fullest extent. The tiger wanted to enjoy the blood of another animal, and therefore, by the grace of the Lord, the material energy supplied him the body of the tiger with facilities for enjoying blood from another animal. Similarly, a living entity desiring to get the body of a demigod in a higher planet can also get it by the grace of the Lord. And if he is intelligent enough, he can desire to get a spiritual body to enjoy the company of the Lord, and he will get it. So the minute freedom of the living entity can be fully utilized, and the Lord is so kind that he will award the living entity the same type of body he desires. The living entity's desiring is like dreaming of a golden mountain. A person knows what a mountain is, and he also knows what gold is. Out of his desire only, he dreams of a golden mountain, and when the dream is over, he sees something else in his presence. He finds in his awakened state that there is neither gold nor a mountain, and what to speak of a golden mountain. The different positions of the living entities in the material world under multifarious manifestations of bodies are due to the misconception of mine and I. The karmi thinks of this world as mine, and the jnani thinks I am everything. The whole material conception of politics, sociology, philanthropy, altruism, etc., conceived by the conditioned souls, is on the basis of this misconceived I and mine, which are products of a strong desire to enjoy material life. Identification with the body and the place where the body is obtained under different conceptions of socialism, nationalism, family affection, and so on, and so forth, is all due to forgetfulness of the real nature of the living entity, and the whole misconception of the bewildered entity can be removed by the association of Shukadeva Goswami and Maharaj Parikshit, as all this is explained in the Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam. Bahurupa Ivaibaiti Mayaya Bahurupaya Namama no Gunesh Asya Mamaham Iti Manyate. The illusion living entity appears in so many forms offered by the external energy of the Lord. While enjoying in the modes of material nature, the encaged living entity misconceives, thinking in terms of I and mine. Om Jnana Timirandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurunmitam Jena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Shri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Svayam Rupa Kadabhayam Didati Sva Padantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Utalbadakamalam Shri Gurun Vaishnavamscha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raganatan Vidam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadutam Parijana Sahitam Shri Krishna Chaitanya Deva Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakavitamscha. Hey Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dina Bandho Jagatpate Gopisha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute Chayatam Surato Pangur Mama Mandamater Gati Matsar Vasva Padam Bojo Radha Madana Mohano Tibyad Bindaranya Kalpajurmada Shrimad Nagara Sringasanasto Śrīmad Radha Shila Govinda Devo Prastalabi Savyamano Smarami Śrīmad Rasa Rasarambi Mamsi Bhatatasti Taha Karshan Venu Svanar Gopir Gopinatha Shriestuna Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshvari Vishabhanu Sute Devi Pranamami Hari Priye Panchakalpatarubhyascha Kripasindubhyevacha Patitanam Bhavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha. Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Śrīla Sadi Gaura Bhaktivinoda. Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Rama Hare Hare. So, these are the beginning verses of this chapter, answers by citing the Lord's version. Where the Lord will reveal himself to Lord Brahma at the beginning of creation. Lord Brahma was alone on the lotus flower, and he heard the sound tapa, performed tapasya. And the Lord, being pleased with his non-deceptive penance in matter of devotional service, appeared and gave him instruction. And what does Krishna say in the beginning? I. What is it? I create this cosmos by such penance. I maintain it by the same energy. And I withdraw it all by the same energy. And here, so Krishna is the actual I, and his claim over everything is mine is correct. So here, Shukadeva Goswami is pointing out to Maharaj Parikshit the illusioned living entity. This is when people would try to falsely claim themselves God, or such and such Swami Maharaj is God, and say, so he has achieved his godhood by some process of enlightenment. That is not God. God never comes under illusion. He is the source of illusion. How could the person who is manifesting and in control of illusion be himself under illusion? It makes absolutely no sense. So here, the cause of the living entity's illusion, thinking in terms of I and mine. The illusion living entity appears in so many forms offered by the external energy of the Lord. While enjoying in the modes of material nature, the encaged living entity misconceives, thinking in terms of I and mine. So the illusion is actually the encagement. And the illusion, it makes the forgetful soul think that they're suffering in the process of repeated birth, death, disease, and old age. And as very elaborately described here today, changing their identity from one body to another, millions and millions, 8,400,000 species, 8,400,000 times. Our original constitutional nature is to want permanence, consistency, no fear or threat of uncertainty and change. So Prabhupada, in his purport, the different forms of the living entities are different dresses offered by the illusory external energy of Lord according to the modes of nature the living being desires to enjoy. So this is very interesting, that when one gives oneself up to the illusory energy, by one's karma, as described here, the living being creates his next body by his work. But the heart of it, there is an intense desire to try to enjoy. And material enjoyment, bahurupa, multifarious. So all of the different species and so many categories within offers a particular nuance or flavor or type of material enjoyment, which the illusion living entity, forgetful of what is the value, supreme value of devotional service to the Lord, how it fulfills all desires, tries to independently enjoy separate from Krishna. And this is what manifests all these different bahurupa external forms. The external material energy is represented by her three modes, namely goodness, passion, and ignorance. So even in the material nature, there is a chance of an independent choice by the living entity. And Prabhupada would see the young men surfing on the beach in Hawaii, and particularly Prabhupada called them sea sufferers, because they're so much infatuated and want to spend so many hours every day in the water. So they will be blessed, or they will be awarded in their next life, like a dolphin or animal like that, a whale, shark. Yes, you can be in the water all the time. And here's the breakdown is given. 900,000 material bodies in the water, 2 million vegetable bodies, 1,100,000 worms and reptiles. Actually, to become a worm, especially a worm in stool, is the result of very terrible, sinful activities performed in this human form of life. 1 million forms of birds. We want to fly in the sky. 3 million different bodies of beasts, and only 400,000 human forms. And it's described elsewhere how amongst 400,000 human forms, most of them are uncivilized types of human life. And especially in Kali Yuga, practically 99% of those in human form are spoiling Manusya Janmapaya, Radha Krishna Nayanya. They've simply spoiling their life, not engaging in Krishna consciousness, in devotional service. What to speak of devotional service to the Lord, there's practically any type of semblance of religious and pious life is diminishing practically to the 0 point, day by day by day. Although there are 8,400,000 varieties of bodies in different planets of the universe, so you can travel between planets in this universe by the process of transmigration. People say, oh, the dinosaurs are extinct, and let's go look at the bones of the Brontosaurus and Tyrannosaurus Rex at the Museum of Natural History at 81st Street and Central Park West in New York City, and think ourselves very much advanced in scientific understanding. But actually, the Brontosaurus, the Tyrannosaurus Rex, the Saltoplasuchus, yes, there is such an animal, not one who puts too much salt on their prasad. Stegosaurus. And Prabhupada was even asked that, extinct? No, now they're on another planet. Science fiction ideas like King Kong, who lives on this mysterious skull island, and there in the 1930s are the dinosaurs, you know. It's nice, wishful imagination, but it has its, but it's not completely unfounded. The species are ever existing, not that they're evolving, you know. Okay, they couldn't be human beings until the squiggly wigglies came up out of the and slithered onto the land, and then they had to develop. Their fins turned into fetlocks, you know, and then it became four-legged, and then gradually stood on two legs, and then finally it became a Neanderthal man, and then they discovered the wheel and fire, and here we are today. In the 21st century, we've evolved, right? He's traveling by so many transmigrations throughout the universe. And according, what is that? Brahmanda. Yeah. Right. So, and it's describing transmigration through the entire Brahmanda, the universe. And then when he meets the pure devotee spiritual master who gives him the seated devotional service, his entire material existence becomes rectified. And this transmigration is because of the enjoying spirit within himself. So therefore, earlier, Shukadeva Goswami, there is no higher answer or remedial measure to to stop the transmigration through the different species of life and repeated birth, death, disease, and old age than to perform direct devotional service to the Lord. Earlier, at the beginning of the meeting of Shukadeva Goswami and Maharishi Parikshit, where akamo sarva kamo va moksha kama udaradi tivrena bhakti yogikena yajeta purusham param, whether one is has all material desire, does not material desire, desires liberation, but by all means, everyone should worship the Lord with great expediency. And then he goes on to say, or before that, if one wants this, he should worship the moon. If one wants this, he should worship, and Prabhupada says in the purport that all these different types of enjoyments for a pure devotee are absolutely useless. It's just childish imagination and meaningless. And more than that, it's actually a waste of time and energy. So the goal is, or the methodology is, to conquer over this enjoying idea through the material energy, and to be an enjoyer separate from Krishna can be counteracted by becoming, once again, a servant of Krishna, even in practice, sadhana bhakti. Sadhana bhakti leads to siddha bhakti, and in the ultimate issue, there is no difference, because if one is eternally perfect or has regained eternal perfection through practice, perfection is perfection. Plain and simple. And Prabhupada is a very important part of our preaching, and we can see how Prabhupada has done this as a major theme in his overall preaching. And we should not shy away from pointing out to people their dangerous position in the cycle of repeated birth, death, disease, and old age. This is something that everyone is afraid of. Everyone is afraid of death. Only someone who's completely crazy or very, very proud will argue when the devotee points out the terrible calamity of repeated birth, death, disease, and old age. And even they do before a audience they will look extremely foolish in the presence of the pure devotee who is teaching. You can see that someone would stand up and say, I don't believe in this and that. And Prabhupada would ask simple questions. Do you accept that you have to die? Do you understand that you have to get old? Do you like to get old? Do you like to get disease? So, by a simple example, pointing out the simple facts, the so-called challenger would be defeated. The living entity creates his own body by his personal desires, and then so one wants to become a tiger. We have that 4 different example transmigration painting in the Bhagavad Gita that someone wants to sleep, 17, 18 hours a day. Okay, you can become a bear and just sleep, hibernate. Bears can sleep for 6 months straight. Or being naked and promiscuous and illicit sex, then you can become a tree, because trees can stand naked for thousands of years, and their being naked doesn't disturb anyone, but you get the chance to be naked for thousands of years. You want to, I like my meat, like the, a man is a meat eater, and nice blood, and all right. And you can be the tiger or the king of the forest. You can be the lion, and enjoy the false prestige of being a blood-sucking meat eater. And add to your repertoire instead of, just being like it's not very brave, courageous, or that doesn't impress others. Your bravery that you went into the store and went to the meat department and bought the thing and brought it home, but now you can go out and triumphantly kill the other animal and go to all that. So Krishna is very kind. So you can become a and you have big claws and mouth, and you can enjoy the false pride that comes from that you yourself you can become a demigod if you like, and if you're intelligent, you get a spiritual body to enjoy the company of the Lord. If that is what you desire, you will get it. Jaktva deham punarjanma neti mamiti soarjuna. So therefore, training in Krishna consciousness is so important, so that people do not misuse their valuable human form of life. Don't waste their valuable time. And Prabhupada would say things like, failure life. This life is spoiled. The greatest fear, misusing the human form of life for animal propensities. So that outlook, or that very stark vision, is necessary for the devotee, especially to exist in these Western cities where this materialistic way of life is so predominant and so strong. It has everyone so much illusion. So to keep one's wit about oneself, one must always be very, very vigilant and alert to see what is what and what is actually happening. The foolish cannot see how the living entity quits his material body and takes another, but those who are trained in knowledge can see all these things clearly. So we're sitting in that very nice Music Under New York 8th Avenue spot, and we're just poised looking down that 7th Avenue, 8th Avenue passageway where there's tens of thousands of people going through all day long in the rush hour. And because we're there, it actually becomes a passageway back home, back to Godhead. But otherwise, it's the road to Yamaraj by all the sinful activities and material desires that are continually pouring through that passageway of humanity. So the minute freedom of the living entity can be fully utilized, and the Lord is so kind that He will award the living entity the same type of body he desires. But at the same time, it's karma. One might not be given the exact body that one wants. One wants to be handsome and beautiful, one wants to be rich, one wants to be famous and renowned, one wants to be intelligent, sharp in wit, articulate, witty, big vocabulary. One might be handsome, become handsome or beautiful, but one could be just like very foolish. Or one can be very, very smart, but by material estimation, one could be ugly. One can be very highly aristocratically placed, but one could be suffering from some severe mental illness. So you can never have everything exactly perfect, especially in Kali Yuga. Whereas devotees, their apparent material position should never be calculated. Oh, this is a ugly devotee, or this devotee is from a obscure social position. It's from a poor country. I'm from a better country than this devotee. Therefore, I'm better because this is hellish mentality. A devotee is a devotee, period. And just like in regards to Mahatma Vidura, who was technically a Sudra, Prabhupada described, he worked very hard to preach Krishna consciousness and save and convert Dhritarashtra. And in regards to the Lord becoming Varaha, which is a boar, would you like to become a boar? So the Lord and his devotees sometimes play the parts of lowly creatures to save the fallen conditioned souls. So everyone by their own karma, combination of material desire and sinful and pious activities, are born as this and that in so many different statuses of life. And the Lord is concerned for all of them. So ultimately, it's not that the Lord is more concerned with the pious people and more inclined to them than he is to the sinful people, although to the degree and extent and severity of one's sinful activities, actually one is moved farther away from the Lord. But the Lord, being unlimitedly merciful, especially as Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, is very much concerned for all of them. And in fact, the urgent concern of the Supreme Lord for the most sinful and most fallen in this age of Kali Yuga becomes even more the priority. It was that Srila Narottam Das Thakur, who perfectly exemplifies the right mood, the right psychological way of thinking that we should all follow. He said, what is it? Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu. You have seen the fallen souls of this age, but I can assure you, you will not find a more fallen soul than me. Therefore, my claim is first. What song is that? Hetu Sava Avatar Mosama Patita Prabhu. That's what. Yeah, something like that. So, the different positions of the living entities in the material world under multifarious manifestations of bodies are due to the misconception of mine and I. The karmi thinks of this world as mine, and the jnani thinks I am everything. The whole material conception of politics, so this is very important, politics, sociology, philanthropy, altruism, very high things. I want to do good to my fellow man. Let me see, like someone like, I hope there's no fact-checking, what are those?
Independent fact checker?
Yeah, Bill Gates, Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation, so philanthropic, but there's a lot of questions as to what is the motivation behind such so-called philanthropy. So, Prabhupada goes on to say that philanthropy, altruism, These are products of a strong desire to enjoy material life. Therefore, real charity, real philanthropy means to distribute the principles of love of Godhead via the movement of the Supreme Lord Himself. In other words, the Sankirtan movement. That is real charity. As Prabhupada describes when Kardama Muni wanted to bless Devahuti with what he was experiencing, love of Godhead, said to bestow love for Krishna upon another is actually the greatest gift that we can give to those who we presume to love. Identification with the body and a place where the body is obtained under different conceptions of socialism, nationalism, family affection, and so on, are all due to forgetfulness of the real nature of the living entity, and the whole misconception of the bewildered living entity can be removed by the association of Shukadeva Goswami and Maharaj Parikshit, as all this is explained in the Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam. Nationalism. I heard something that I hadn't ever heard before. Somehow I hadn't scrutinized it before. It's the memoir of Bhagavat Das, who said one time he spent like 2 hours or more alone with Srila Prabhupada on his rooftop of his apartment in Bombay. And Prabhupada, among other things, said that he would like to acquire all the land in Mayapur and then make a completely self-sufficient ISKCON city. It's completely self-sufficient, having absolutely nothing to do, no need to take anything from outside our boundary. And then he wanted to succeed from India and make his own country. Like Prabhupada's plans was, and then that Mayapur as his own country would be so exemplary that the whole world would be impressed and want to follow, and then they would take over the entire India. So it's like, wow, it's like, we don't know why Prabhupada's plans were so expansive. Yeah, I forget, I think whatever number it was, it's the one that has Tripurari Maharaj, Jadharani, Bhagavat, and another devotee, American devotee. I don't remember his name. It's like it was made in 1996. All right, Hare Krishna. Any questions or comments?
You're talking about there's no such thing as like you should judge Vaishnavas as an external.
Yeah. What is that? It's in the Upadeshamrita, right? A diseased or infirm body.
Yeah, it's just like the Ganges. It's always pure. You shouldn't look at the impurities and think, oh, Ganges.
Well, what it was, the devotee was a diseased body or an infirm body.
Yeah, those are considered casteism amongst the Vaishnavas, classified as Brahma Vaishnava, Kshatriya Vaishnava, Vaishya Vaishnava, Shudra Vaishnava, or Chanda Vaishnava. Simply indulging speculative imprints like this golden stone pot. And the golden stone pot, this guy gives gold to the blacksmith and has him make, nice cup to drink his milk. And the blacksmith thinks, well, I could just get it, cheap stone and coat it with gold, and I'll keep all the gold. And then he tries to give it to the guy, and the guy's like, this is not gold, this is a stone cup. He's like, it's a golden stone cup.
Yeah.
And so either one should be considered as a Vaishnava, or one should be considered as the other Brahmana, Kshatriya, Vaishya, Shudra. Either one should call it a golden pot or a stone pot.
How about naked Pencho in that regard, right? It reveals the envy. Everyone knows naked Pencho?
We
No, you're initiated into naked Panchodom. You want to pull it out, and I'll do a dramatic.
In the village you're living
No, give me.
It's pretty microscopic.
small. It's kind of small.
Can I make it bigger?
You can try it.
Yeah, so anyway, just to sum it up quick. So he's a little boy and he's running naked in his childhood, as you see in India. You know, the very young children do that, and nobody pays it any mind. So the boy grew up and became like the top student in the class. Now, unfortunately, many of the neighbors were not on good terms with Pencho's father. So seeing Pencho becoming so renowned, they became very envious, and they didn't want to hear, "Oh, hang your cock and bull stories. We don't want to hear about, naked." And they would continue. He's already graduating high school and going to college, and they still call him Naked Pencho like they did when he was 2 years old. Hang your don't mention his studies. So within a few years, Panchanan, that's his actual name, not Pencho, attained a law degree and became a highly placed lawyer in the Supreme Court. So when the inimical neighbors of Panchaman's father came to hear this news, they remarked, "He must have passed the examination by cheating." Panchanan Babu gradually got promoted to become the district magistrate and became very renowned. Then the heart of those envious persons burned with jealousy. They pulled faces and shouted, "Oh, hang your cock and bull stories. How could that whippersnapper become a district judge?" When the name of district magistrate, Honorable Lord Panchaman, was shown to them in some authentic legal papers, they cried vociferously, "Naked Pencho must be working as a judge and not getting paid." He's not real, it's a farce. So any Vaishnava who has surrendered himself unto the lotus feet of the Supreme Lord, or any person who has been duly initiated into the Maha Mantra under a real spiritual master, according to the Panchatriki scriptures, should never be subjected to any sort of caste distinction. As depicted in this story just narrated, Panchaman Babu was wrongly considered to be a naked Pencho, even when he became a respectable court judge, and it was also an unfounded assumption that Panchaman could never become a court judge only because his father was not on good terms with his neighbors. This is nothing but a reflection of one's jealousy. One who is a Vaishnava, even born of a low caste, should never be looked down upon as a lowly person. As one single rupee is in existence within an amount of crores of rupees, similarly the qualities of a Brahmana all exist within a Vaishnava. As such, it is considered to be an offense to blacklist any Vaishnava or non-Brahmin for any reason whatsoever. In fact, an Uttamadhikari or a Vaishnava elevated to the highest stage of self-realization may very well be honored as a Paramahamsa or a truly wise sage. Those who consider themselves as servants only to such Paramahamsa Vaishnavas actually abide by the transcendental system of the 8 divisions of Varna and Ashram as created by the Lord. They never pose themselves as Vaishnavas under a sense of vanity. Instead, they consider themselves as servants of the Vaishnavas under the Paramahamsa. Even if these persons came of a Sudra, low caste, or social Brahmin family before they took shelter under the lotus feet of a Vaishnava, still it is unreasonable and offensive to introduce or call them Sudras, low caste people, or social Brahmins, recalling their positions in their previous ashrams. One who has received the initiation mantra according to the Panchatriki scriptures and thus attained the second birth under the auspices of the fatherly spiritual master and motherly Gayatri mantra, is called a transcendental, not social Brahmin. All these transcendental Brahmanas who have obtained their second birth in order to offer service to the Lord accept sacred threads, chanting beads, tilak, and the like as prescriptural prescriptions. Those who maintain that Vaishnavas, even if initiated into their new life, must be considered belonging to their own Sudra or such low caste as they were by birth, and that such Vaishnavas should not accept any sacred thread, nor chant Gayatri or Pranav mantra, are similar to such people who prefer to brand the district magistrate merely as a naked pen show. Achyutananda, in his memoir, the question was put to him, to Prabhupada, what caused the breakup of the Gaudiya Math? And a very interesting answer was that amongst the godbrothers there was prejudice over those who are not born Brahmanas. Each and every girl moves naked in her very early age, but when the same girl attains her motherhood, then it will be most indecent and offensive to recall her childhood nudity and thus put her to shame. And what would be the purpose? Except just like a very prurient and just like outrageously offensive mentality. Similarly, it is more offensive and extremely hard-hearted to make an impression about any Vaishnava in the light of his previous ashram before taking shelter of initiation into the Hare Krishna mantra. Hare Krishna. Grantaraj Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam ki jai, Srila Prabhupada ki jai, Shri Radha Govinda ki jai, Nitai Gaur